Alrighty guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be trying to recreate this Coco Chanel perfume. Now this was a request from somebody in my live stream. I'm just going to go right for it. I'm just going to quickly save this document. I'm going to call it Coco Chanel. And we're going to try our best to recreate this exact image right here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. I'm just going to start off by modeling this thing. So I think we're just going to start off with a cube. I'll try to scale this down as best as I can to the actual size so we can get those realistic dimensions. But for the most part, this looks like the proportions. I'm going to go with something really simple like that. I'm going to I'm going to generate a bevel modifier. Still don't like what they did to the menu, but I am not the creator of Blender, so I can't change it. All right, so we have kind of the basics of our bottle here. Now, I do think that these individual edges are slightly beveled too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this, tab into edit mode. I'm going to select all of the edges, and I'm going to give them like the slightest bevel, just so they have a little bit more dimension to them, if that makes sense, and they're a little bit rounded, okay? I'm going to shade this auto smooth, and then I'm going to add in a cylinder. Let's go ahead and add in a mesh cylinder. We'll bring that right up here. We'll scale it down to the approximate size of the top of the bottle. Now, what's interesting about this is the top of the bottle does look like it actually goes into the cap a little bit. So I don't know what's under the cap, so I'm just going to be kind of assuming what I think it looks like. I'm going to add a modifier. I'm going to add a, edge split, and then I'm going to add a subdivision surface. And I'm also going to add a bevel. Now the bevel, guys, is going to go above everything else, like so. I don't really, it's really hard to see on the right-hand side what this actually looks like, but I'm going to try my absolute best to recreate it. The bevel might be so slim. I'm also going to apply my scale. The bevel might be really, really super slim. So let me just make the slightest bevel here. I'm going to raise my subdivisions, save it, auto smooth. Now you'll see in the middle right here, there's like kind of a flashy part of the top of the bottle. We're going to come back to that. I'm going to duplicate this, keep all of my modifiers, go to my top-down view. I'm going to switch to my random colors, scale it up just a little bit, go to my side view, flatten it down, and we're going to create the base of this frosted glass handle right here, if you guys can see that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of the bevel. I'm going to keep, excuse me, guys. I'm going to keep the subdivision. I am going to take I'm going to do Control R to get a loop cut in here. I'm going to bring that down to the bottom, turn on X-ray mode, go to my vertices. I'm going to scale this down a little bit, bring it down just a little bit like that. And as you can see, if we hop off of X-ray mode, you can see it's kind of, I don't know how you say this, it's a little bit more rounded at the bottom. Also going to go ahead and do that there. Again, I'm just going from eyesight here, so I could totally be wrong when it comes to the proportions. We're just trying our best to get this as close as possible. Let's go ahead and go back to X-ray mode. Let's scale down these top vertices a little bit, and then let's extrude this up twice, maybe 3 times, and then we're going to start to scale this out towards the top. You can see that it kind of flares out just a little bit. That looks pretty close. We might have to take all of these individual ones right here, scale them out just a little bit, and move them up. Again, I'm just scaling and moving. I'm really not doing much. The modifier is doing all the work for me by having that nice subdivision surface. So we have our top of our bottle. I do think this is a little bit slimmer, so I'm going to bring this down. You kind of reevaluate as you go. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and work on the top part. Now, I actually think the top part is almost identical to this piece right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in a cube, bring it up, scale it down, kind of crunch it a little bit like that. I'm going to try my best to get these proportions correct. All right, let's go ahead and scale it a little bit more. Let's bring it down. Let's go ahead and add in a bevel modifier. Let's apply our scale so that the modifier correctly applies. Reduce this just a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. Try to get it right on top of there. Now, again, I could be wrong with the proportions here. I don't know if this is going to be the same width as the bottle. I'll just assume that it is. I'll scale it accordingly, and then I'll apply my scale one more time. I'm going to check my bevel, scale it up just a little bit, apply my scale. That looks pretty good. I'm going to apply my bevel modifier right here. I am going to tab into edit mode, select all edges. Control B to bevel, just ever so slightly. Very, very slight. Just like that. Perfect. Now, as you can see, we have a decent looking model. I actually think we're going to have to do some kind of crunching just a little bit. I think everything's going to need to be a little bit shorter here. So let's bring this down. Okay, let's bring this down. I think that looks pretty close to what it is. Now, we're going to get some interesting interaction between these two parts right here. So let's just see how this turns out. Let's go ahead and go into render view and start to see like what these materials might look like. Now we are going to need a plane underneath of this. So I'm just going to add in a cube, scale it way, way, way up, bring it down. I'm also going to position my camera in the same way that we have our other one. I think I'm going to go with like an 80-degree angle. I'm also going to go ahead and make sure that I have my camera selected. I will be enabling depth of field at some point, but before I do that, I want to give myself a 100mm lens. That's pretty typical for like product photography. I actually think I might do an even slight slimmer angle here. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera back this way. As you can see, I'm just in top-down view. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to move it. I keep accidentally hiding it instead of pressing G to move. I'm going to move it back. And I'm just pressing G while in the camera view. Again, I'm going to look at where their background sits too. It does look like they're on the edge of like a table. So I'm going to move this along the x-axis. It looks like the edge of the table is like right about there. I'm even going to follow their proportions from their image as well. We're going to go ahead and do 1920 by 1080. So we're going to do that nice wide format, which is going to be your classic 16:9 look. I'm going to unhide my camera, move it, try to place it almost exactly the way they have it right there. Now, the other thing is we didn't do any scaling yet, so we're going to have to come back to that in a moment. This looks good so far, though. I'm pretty happy with what we have so far. I think like the shot looks pretty similar. I do think the angle is a little bit less, so we'll move it a little bit. It's down. We're going to bring the camera back even more. Go ahead. It's been a while since I've been in Blender, so I'm actually going a little bit slow here. That looks pretty good. What do you guys think? I think that looks pretty similar in terms of the actual angle. Let me just take another look. All right, let's go into rendered view, and let's start adding some materials in the background. Very first thing I'm going to do is quickly add an HDRI so I can preview my materials. Not a lot of people are going to say this is the best way to do it. I don't really care. It's the way I'm going to do it. Again, this lighting is not going to match right away, but I am going to start by just adding a glass shader to the top here. And we're going to give that a 1.45 for the IOR, and we'll do a slight roughness there. And now I'm going to copy that material over to this using Control L. And as you can see, we have a nice frosted glass look. Now you'll be able to tell when the light comes through this way, you have that nice frosted look. We'll come back to this. We're not really ready for the next step yet. I'm going to do a metallic shader for this guy right here. High metallic, low roughness. Get that nice gold look. I think I'm going to go a little bit more yellow here. That looks pretty good so far. Snap back to our camera. I am going to just quickly enable depth of field before we add this last glass part on here. I'm going to click on my object. I'm going to do like 0.2 for our depth of field, maybe 0.1. And you can see we already have depth of field, which is really nice. Let's click on our bottle. Let's give it a glass shader. And I think I'll do no roughness, 1.45 for the actual the IOR. Now, this bottle is going to have to be filled with something. So that's something I didn't do yet. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's duplicate this piece, Shift D, just press Enter, go to our side view, okay? Scale it down just a little bit so it's inside of the bottle. And then we're going to duplicate this material. We're going to call this perfume liquid, just so we can differentiate. And I'm going to give this a slight, almost slightly desaturated pink kind of color. Let's go back to our camera again. Now we're getting somewhere because now it looks like it's actually filled with fluid. So that's kind of where you get that color from. Now we need to start adding in a background, and then we'll start to need to add in our logo and other things like that. So far though, this is looking pretty good for the time spent on it. Now the background's going to be really interesting. This is where we're going to need to kind of fake a background. But before we do that, what I would like to do is I would like to add in a really bright light in the background, or another little trick of mine here. Go into render view. Now we're in our shading tab here. Zoom in, switch this to world, okay? Zoom out, Shift A, we'll add in mapping. You guys probably already know where I'm going with this. Add in a texture coordinate. right here, and you're going to plug everything in, excuse me, like so. All right, now what we're going to do is watch what happens when I adjust this Z. See how the background now changes? And it's actually moving our background behind our scene. So now we can adjust our lighting. And look at this. We're actually about to get the lighting we wanted. Here we go. We're getting there. Now, right about here, we're getting the lighting that we really, really want. You see how now that frosted glass looks completely different than it did before? Now, we are missing a central piece inside of this, so I'm going to fix that in just a moment, but look at how drastically different everything looks just because of that one change. Now, another thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to actually add in a background behind this. Again, there's many ways to do this. I like the way that I'm doing it right now, but the only thing I don't like about this background is that, one, it's not blurred enough, so we're going to have to change the depth of field and stuff, but it's not as orange as the other one, so it doesn't really fit the theme. So let's go ahead and go back to our layout. Let me just quickly add that piece I was talking about in there. I'm going to press the period shortcut to zoom in real quick, scale this up, scale it down. Again, this is just going to be whatever that piece is that's on the inside. I don't know if this is what it actually looks like, but it should give us the effect that there is something in there. And it does. And that's what I wanted, because there is a piece inside of that I see in the render. So, or in the actual image. I'm assuming this is a real image of a real product. It could be a 3D render. I'm going to try to make mine as good, if not better, than the one we're looking at right now. Again, when you zoom out, you can see that we're really getting somewhere here. Now, the perspective might be slightly off, but let's go ahead and add in an image as planes. And I'm going to search for a blurred image. I have a lot of images in here that we can use for our blurred background. I'm going to look for something that's really close, and then we're going to change the hue and the saturation of that image to get the desired result. That's pretty close. Now, it'll already be blurred, but I want to find something that's kind of the type of blur I'm looking for. This is pretty close right here. You guys can see that's already nice and blurred for us, so that helps sell that effect. But again, I want it to be perfect because I want to really sell the background, right? And you can really trick the eye into thinking that this really is the background behind what you're looking at. I have so many images I can sift through here. All right, we might have to go with that original one. Where was that one I was looking at earlier? Sorry, guys. It has to be the perfect image or it's just not going to work right. Let's see. This could work. One of these could work, but you really have to sell it again. Go to my downloads. I might have something in there. Scroll through here. Probably should have had an image prepared. That's my fault, guys. Thank you for your patience. Feel free to skip ahead in the YouTube video if you are watching this on YouTube. I'm going to try to quickly find a background that should work, and then we're going to change the hue and saturation of it. Oh, this might work nicely. This is a nice blurred background. Let's try this, see what we can do. All right, so here's our background here. I'm going to scale it up like so. I'm going to make sure it's right in the background here. As you can see, again, this is not going to be exactly perfect, but I'm going to show you a really cool trick. We're going to go into shading. We are going to select our image. Make sure you're on object here so you have your image selected. I'm going to click on our image here, Shift A, hue and saturation. Plug that right in between the color right here. And we're going to mess around with this hue a little bit until we get something we really like. Let's see. I'm also going to desaturate it just a little bit here. And I'm also going to, instead of plugging this into a principled, I'm going to plug it into an emissive shader so that the background is actually emitting light for us. And strength, we'll do like 0.2 maybe for right now. Maybe 1 might work. Let's see. See how this works out. We're going to go ahead and adjust the hue and saturation here. All right, guys, thank you for your patience. Again, I had to find the perfect background. I actually think this might work. I made this in Photoshop using a kind of a fun little technique. If you guys were on my live stream, you got to see it. I'm going to quickly export this to my downloads just as a PNG. It really doesn't matter the file type. Also, does not matter the file name. All that matters is that it is there. I'm just going to quickly swap it out. Is this the best way to do it? No, because you're going to get some weird proportions, but that's the way I'm doing it. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of everything else except for the emission shader and our image node. Let's go back. Let's go ahead and raise this up to maybe an emission of like 2 or so. And then I'm going to go back to layout. I'm going to go to my camera settings. raise this value right here so we're kind of zoomed in on just our scene. I'm going to go ahead and snap this back to the other side. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Now, I like this background. I don't think it's perfect, but I do think it works for what I have. And I'm going to go ahead and try my best to use it as our background. Now, for the floor plane here, it looks pretty metallic, so I'm just going to give it a nice metallic shader just for right now with kind of a lower roughness. Now, you can see there's a really bright light on our surface. I'm going to have to add in a light source and see if I can get that to match. So let's add in a point light. Let's move it up here. It looks like it's kind of coming from this area over here. I'm going to give it a power of 10,000. And as you can see, now we have some light. And then I'm going to move it along the y-axis until I feel like I'm getting the result that I should. I'm going to just click G to start moving it around. You can see that we can find where that highlight is supposed to be. I'm also going to move our background way, way, way behind our scene and scale it up. That way I can get my light source a little bit closer without it cutting into that plane. Notice now how we're getting this effect down here that is also in our actual image. There is a few things that I'm going to have to change about our render real quick. Inside of the bottle, the actual liquid itself, that should be a different IOR of 1.33 because that's the IOR of water. So that's what we have to make the inside of the bottle in order for it to reflect the light properly. Again, a lot of the stuff we're kind of eyeballing to try to get our best result. Now for our roughness of the top of the handle right here, I'm going to lower that a little bit. I think that looks really nice. We're definitely getting the effect that we want so far. One of the things I'm not seeing is there should be more brightness down here in the middle, and I want to see why that might be. Go ahead and figure out what is happening here. I got to find our liquid. All right, this is our liquid. This is with, this is without. I'm going to go to our liquid, and I'm going to play with the IOR just a little bit. This is an IOR of 2. I'm going to lower it until I feel like I have the result I want. Now, although this is not the IOR of water, it kind of works for the render a little bit more because, again, you have one glass piece on top of another, so it's going to really affect the way that it looks. Now, this handle up here, sorry guys, my brain just like completely stopped for a second. This handle up here, we're going to have to probably make it a little bit bigger, I think. And then this part right here, we're going to have to slap a logo around it. So let's see if we can add a logo to the front here. What I'm probably going to do is I might just use Photoshop to screenshot this logo and then literally pop it right on here. Or we'll make our own logo and just pop it on here with an image as planes. So far, though, this lighting looks really, really nice. I do think that this countertop is slightly more angled too. Let's see. Trying to see, make sure I have this zoomed out enough. We are actually pretty centered on our product here too. Like so. And this is actually a marble countertop. So I'm actually going to go to my real-time materials, which is by Ducky 3D. Thank you, Ducky, for these amazing materials. Let's find the marble. It should be right up here. Now we're looking for kind of like a earthy marble, but we still want it to be kind of tan. Let's see what he has here. He has a lot of different options. Thank you, Ducky. Let's see. Zooming out a little bit. I think I'm set on this one right here. Yeah, this one, this is it. This is the one. Let's copy that, go back to our Coco Chanel bottle. Let's get out of X-ray mode. Let's paste that in. Let's hide it. Let's change our material here to marble. Let's also apply this scale real quick. And let's make sure that I have our bevel on here. We need a bevel because we don't want that edge to be sharp, right? We want it to be rounded. And that's because in real life, there is no like perfectly sharp edge. So we do need to make sure we keep that in mind. Now let me adjust the scale, right? It's starting to look really good. Again, this is a real-time material that I bought, and this actually is working out so nicely. I think it looks so good. So far, I'm really pleased with this render. I actually think it looks really good. I think one of the things I want to change is the scale of this. Bring this up a little bit. I'm trying to make sure everything looks good enough to like be presentable as a real product. I also want to make sure the proportions are correct on this. We got to be really careful with how we do this though, because we don't want this Definitely don't want this to become too sharp. Where's my X-ray mode? X-ray mode. There it is. All right, I'm gonna go back to my X-ray mode. Make sure I'm not selecting the wrong things here. There we go. Scale that in a little bit. Bring it up. We're getting it's way too sharp. Hold on. There we go. Okay, that's better. Whoa, do not delete. Do not delete. There we go. All right, I think I like that. Again, it's not perfect, but for what we're doing, I think it works. Trying to see where everything meets up. All right, let's go ahead and start adding in our logo. Again, this is taking a while, and I want to thank you guys for your patience, but you can see that really all we have is some really strong light right here. We have this, and we haven't even enabled caustics yet. Let's go ahead and see if we can and what we would get if we did. I think I'm going to go for caustics just in the center part here, so just our liquid, and I want to see what we can get with this. I'm going to just go ahead to this little box here. I'm going to go to shading, past shadow caustics. I'm going to click on our floor, click on receive shadow caustics. Then I'm going to click on my light. I'm going to say shadow caustics. Now, this may freeze your computer. It's going to freeze mine for just a split second. You can see right here, it's going to say, may take a few minutes the first time you do this. That's because it has a lot it's trying to calculate. We're trying to say, hey, can you please make this look like it would if it was real? So we're back. I actually disabled the shadow caustics because we were having quite a few issues with trying to get it to work. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and keep modeling here. So we need a kind of like a gold kind of plate on here. I don't know, where is it? Oh, no, sorry, it's white. We need a white plate on the top here. So let's go ahead and take our cylinder. Let's duplicate it. Check this out. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my modifiers here. Except for edge split and subdiv. And I'm going to get rid of the top face, bottom face, and this is our ring that is now going to fit around here. Now we have to scale it down a little bit and scale it out just a little bit, just like that. And again, I'm going to scale it so that it's perfectly fitted. Scale it down. I'm going to scale it in so that it barely touches the edge, just like that. And that is going to be that kind of like collar piece that's on the side right here, as you guys can see. So let's go ahead and continue on this. This is going to be white. So let me go ahead and give this a white metallic kind of shader here. At a low roughness. Actually, I'm going to give it a glossy BSDF. And go ahead and snap back to the camera. That looks pretty good so far. Honestly, even without the logo, this is looking fantastic. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in a plane for the front here. I'm going to move it on the Y. I'm going to zoom in on this. I'm going to flip it 90 degrees, scale it in, bring it up, move it back on the Y so it's barely touching the surface here. Go ahead and really just bring it into the surface. Okay, let's go to our camera view. Bring it out just ever so slightly so it's perfect, perfect. All right, then let's bring this up. Let's scale it down. I'm going to try to match the actual logo the best I can. This is perfect. Now, I want this to be this exact same material, so I'm going to copy that. Now, this is that kind of like reflective material, but we don't have like a logo or anything on this yet. The other thing we don't have is we don't have that kind of golden border, so I'm going to also create that as well. Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to zoom in, move this in front of the other. I'm going to go to solid view, tab into edit mode, inset like so. And then I'm just going to delete this inner face. And now we have our border. Go ahead and scale our border up a little bit. And then we're just going to copy the coordinates of this one for the Y coordinate so that they're perfectly lined up, just like that. And then I just want to make sure this is not overlapping too much or you get some clipping. That looks fine. Duplicate the material, make it gold, or at least some kind of gold. Let's make it a little bit more yellow. Or we could just make it this exact gold right here, since that's probably what we should have done anyway. And now it's the same material. So now it has that glossy look. Now we're not getting that exact glossy look because we don't have the reflections we need. So we might have to add a fake reflection in front of this thing. The other thing we don't have is a logo. So let's add in a logo. Add image, image as planes, Go to our random images. Scroll down. Let's find the Blender logo. You guessed it, the Blender logo. It's in here somewhere. Always like where you least expect it. Did I pass it already? There it is. Here we go. All right, so we got a PNG of the Blender logo. Let's go ahead and bring it right here. Let's copy that same coordinate there. Bring it a little bit out. Scale it down. Bring it up. Go to our front view right here. Let's try to center it. As you guys can see, it looks pretty good so far, but it needs to be a little bit closer to the surface. We'll raise that metallic and lower that roughness a little bit. And then I'm going to have my camera focus on the Blender logo. There we go. Now, if I bring this back on the Y, you can line it up almost perfectly. Now, we would need to also name this, but it is starting to look pretty good. The only thing I don't really like is that this doesn't have the reflection I want. And that's because you can see, like, as we rotate around, you start to get a reflection. We're going to have to fake the reflection. So one way to do that is we could just duplicate the background here, like this. Bring it over here, and we could go to the camera view, move this out of the way. Now see how now this has a reflection? Moving it out of the way more. I'm going to rotate this on the Z. Look what happens as I rotate my background here. See what's happening, guys? I can get this fake reflection if I want it, if I want that, which I think I do. But you have to be careful that you don't rotate this the wrong way. Now, another thing is you probably want this to be a different type of reflection. Again, this is going to be our reflective like panel. One thing you could do is get rid of the material. And I'm going to show you this in camera view. Make the material black. Look what happens as I change the material. You're changing the reflection in the actual object itself. So I can give it this really nice fade if I want to. I don't have to do this, but you can. This is an option that you have if you want that kind of contrasty look for your label. Again, I don't think this label looks fantastic, and that's mainly because it's not a real logo. It's just a Blender logo. But as you guys can see, I think we've pretty much accurately recreated what this looks like, at least for the most part, using simple materials and lighting tricks. And I actually don't think it turned out too bad at all. One thing I would probably change, I don't even know if I would do the planes here. I might just do the Blender logo. And I might just make it like kind of metallic-ish. Again, this is totally up to your personal preference for what you guys want to do. You don't have to do this at all. This is just me kind of messing around with the material. You could do something like that if you wanted to. You don't have to. You can see that this is literally just a metallic plane. Snap back to the camera. Again, this is totally up to you guys what you want to do at this particular point. For me, I think this looks good enough for like the lighting purposes of the tutorial. The background looks great, and it looks almost exactly like what we have on the right, at least for the most part. If you guys even want to get more detail with this kind of stuff, you can get the inner liquid. You can try to scale that out a little bit to meet the corners. Just be really careful, because you can see as you scale this in and out how it's going to differentiate your render. So just be careful the materials you're using. Try to enable your depth of field, and I think you'll get a really nice render. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please consider subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate your time, and I hope you guys have a great day.